Good morning, everybody, and happy Monday. D's still sleeping. So we've been talking about state management now for a while, and it deserves all of that time. So let's remember the power of anchors. So the last time that I did this, I started out by playing some music, and I'm pretty sure I played Rocky because that's one of the greatest anchors, is the theme song from Rocky. So what is an anchor? An anchor is a trigger. It's something that creates a response. So if you are in a significant emotional state, whether it be a positive or a negative, whether it's super elated or super upset, and something happens, something unique happens, and it happens a couple of times, usually it takes more than once, then that becomes an anchor. So like, let's say that you're at a funeral. Let's say you're at your dad's funeral and a bunch of people hug you. This is back when we could all touch each other. A bunch of people hug you and you get touched on the arm the same way a series of times. You now then could go on and 4 months could go by and you could be feeling fine about everything. Life's going on. And then all of a sudden somebody touched you in that arm the same way, and all of those feelings will come back. That's an anchor. Music is a great anchor. Smells are the number one anchor. The reason that we do things like make cookies or bake pie in a house before we try and sell it is we're hoping that that smell is a positive anchor for the people that are coming through the house. And that's just a hope. You're just kind of shooting in the dark. But the hope is that they were a kid, their mom or dad or somebody grandma cooked something that smelled good and it was a happy time. And so they'll walk in the house, they'll smell that, and it'll take them back to that time. And the sense of smell is actually the first sense that develops when we're in the womb. And so it goes to the reptilian part of the brain. So it is the deepest anchor. So that one is related to memory more than anyone. But, music is a great anchor. There's physical anchors, like I said. You might touch something. So you can have a positive anchor or you can have a negative anchor. And the way to have an anchor is to go into an emotional state and at the peak of that emotional state, have something unique happen. And then that emotional state will now become anchored. And every time that you hit that trigger, you're going to feel that same way. So, the challenge with all of the stuff that I talked about with regards to state management is that you have to think about it. At first, you've got to think about your physiology. You got to think about your language. You got to think about your focus. Now, over time, those things will become ingrained and you won't have to think as much. But with anchors, things happen immediately. It's an immediate trigger. And so you can be managing your state well, but then an old anchor will come into play and bang, all of a sudden all of these feelings will come back. And sometimes you won't even know why or how. I mean, the funeral example, there could be music playing in the background that you didn't even consciously notice. And you'll wake up and feel great, and then all of a sudden get in your car and feel and hear the music and feel incredibly sad and not know why. So if you're going around and all of a sudden all these feelings happen and you don't know where it came from, well, you tripped an anchor. Okay? So they're around. Just like state management, we are anchoring ourselves or we're being anchored all the time. Commercials are great. If you want to watch how to do an anchor, watch every beer commercial and it will show you how to do an anchor because beer commercials rarely have anything to do with the beer. I mean, Sam Adams does, but that's one of the few ones. I mean, watch a Coors Light commercial. The silver bullet. Yeah, that's really subtle. You got super hot people wearing next to nothing, playing volleyball, doing things like that, running around, being all young and hot and athletic, and then bang, they show the beer, and they show the name, and here's this train, and there's music playing, and da-da-da-da. That is a tremendous anchor, and you can anchor yourself. So it's Monday morning. Maybe you're not feeling as excited today as you normally would. I hope the opposite is true. I hope you wake up on Monday now and you're excited to get to work because it's your passion and it's what you want to do. But if you're not, you can first of all, you can create anchors, but you can use the anchors that you already have. Music is a great example of that. If you wake up to a certain type of music that is an anchor for you, like the theme from Rocky, you'll wake up feeling those feelings. If you create a certain, if there's a smell that is a great anchor for you, you can use that. If there's a memory that's a great anchor for you, then you can think about that right after you hear the music, and you can use that. You can also then create an anchor. So what you do is you put yourself in a peak state and then do something that's really unique. And if you do something you can do something as subtle as snap a finger or pinch, do something that wouldn't normally happen. So like you can pinch a piece of skin or do something like that. But if you do something a little bit more intense where you do like a power move when you're doing the positive anchor, it'll anchor it in even that much deeper, and then it'll trigger it even better. So if your move is kind of like a little, karate move, or you do a little like that, then as you're anchoring that, when you fire off that move, that anchor will be even that much more significant, and that move will actually exacerbate the anchor because now you're also using your physiology when you're doing it at the same time. So today, I want you to think about things that you're anchored to already. What is it that you're anchored to that you could use? A piece of music that every time you hear it, you feel good. It takes you back to a great time in your life or a great memory in your life, something that, maybe it's high school, maybe it's a concert that you went to, maybe it's a seminar that you went to, but think about something that is a great anchor for you, positive anchors, a smell, a memory, a sound, something that really works. And go ahead and fire it off today and see how well it works. And then think about, are there negative anchors for you? And write those down, because we're going to talk about how to get rid of a negative anchor. But then create an anchor. Figure out a piece of emotion that you want to be able to trigger, whether it's energy or passion, whatever it is. Think about that, and then put yourself into that state. Use your physiology, use your focus, use your language to put yourself in that state, and then anchor that state as you're doing it. And I understand you might not have ever done this, but the reality is you have done this, but you've never done it consciously. You want to do it at the peak of the emotion, and you want to do it at the peak or before, not after. And trust your gut instincts on this. Your gut will know how to do it. But you can then be able to just go ahead and fire that anchor and feel that emotion. So create an anchor today of some really positive emotion. And do it a couple of times. Remember, the more you do it, the better it's going to get. Anchors get stronger and stronger and stronger. They don't get weaker. I worked on these over time, and I actually have anchors on my fingertips. So like before I go into court or I argue something, I've got an anchor. I have an anchor before I talk to my daughter, because I shouldn't be in the same state that I'm going to be when I go into court when I talk to my daughter. That's something that I learned not quick enough as a parent. So I try to remember to do that. And you can have anchors for when you're going to communicate with your spouse. You can have anchors to relax. You can have anchors to wake up in the morning and feel excited. And you can utilize the anchors that are already around you in order to exacerbate these things and to make them better. And as you're thinking about the negative anchors, think about, is there a specific piece of music that you just don't like? Or is there a drive that every time you take the drive, all of a sudden you're mad or you're upset or you're sad or something? I did the same route through Crate Park from my house for weeks when I was going through my personal growth opportunity. And after I'd gotten past all that, and I'd lost weight and I had remade money and done all that stuff, I noticed after a while that I was getting up in the morning, and halfway through my walk, I would be upset, and I would be, stressed, and I would be feeling very not relaxed and energized, but more, not in a positive state. And I kept thinking, why do I keep ending up in this state? It's not how I woke up in the morning. I woke up in the morning feeling great, so how come I end up in this state? Well, I figured out that the walk was an anchor. As I would do the walk, because I'd done that walk so many times while I was in this state, what I had trained myself to do is by the end of the walk, I would be out of that state, and I would be feeling like, okay, now I'm positive, now I'm ready to go. But during the walk, I was. And so that walk had become an anchor. And so I needed to change it. I was like, okay, so I took a whole different route and created new anchors, and I did it intentionally. I listened to certain music. I thought about certain things. So now that new route is a positive anchor rather than a negative anchor. So, your drive to work might be a negative anchor. It might be time to change that route that you go to work because, maybe you haven't thought about the best things for a while on your way to that work, or your morning routine might be a negative anchor. You might wake up feeling fine, and then you get done with your morning routine and you're not. And that's because during that routine, you've been thinking about things that aren't in a positive state for a long time, so now that's become an anchor. So it might be time to do it all differently. Time for a new morning routine and to jumble it up and to change something. Anchors are happening all day long. And again, this is just like state management. This is something that you're already doing. This is something that people are already doing to you, especially advertisers. They're using anchors like crazy. The American flag. They use bald eagles. They use music. They use military. They use all of those things are great anchors. And everybody's trying to anchor you. So this is another one of those situations where we're going to design our own life and not become part of somebody else's design. So make yourself a positive anchor today. Do at least one. Fire it off several times. And you can't mess this up. Okay, so don't worry. Don't operate from fear. Operate from confidence on this. Your body knows how to do it, and you'll do it right. So do a series of positive anchors. Same anchor several times. And then figure out what you got as a negative anchor, because tomorrow we'll talk about collapsing an anchor. And then just notice today the various anchors that are going on with you as you go throughout your day. Pay attention to advertising. Pay attention to the things that happen to you that are really positive. And maybe it's time to change up your entire routine and make it a more positive routine and help with those positive anchors. Because you can do that simply by changing your state, which you now know how to do, doing a different routine, and continue to condition that. Once you've got a new thing, just condition it positively. Think about it in a positive way. Do something unique as you're doing it. And then all of a sudden, you'll be conditioned in a positive way as opposed to a negative way. And again, this all perpetuates, right? This is like the ball rolling down the hill. This is like my merry-go-round that I like to talk about. Once you get it going, then it's much easier to keep it going. So do some positive anchors today. The theme from Rocky is a great one. You cannot listen to that and not wake up and move around and feel great. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other.